You're listening to Media Automated. Join us as we explore the intersection between self-improvement and business excellence, showing you the strategies that will help you take your message, your brand, and your podcast to the next level. Let's begin. You need a reality check. I don't know how else to say it, but I'm going to say it that way anyway. You need a reality check. You are listening to Media Automated, where self-improvement meets business excellence, and I am your host, Bryce Prescott. Thank you so much for returning to the podcast for another episode. For all of our viewers and listeners here, I'm super thankful. Just a little bit of housekeeping going forward. We've had some great reception to this podcast. I believe this is our 10th episode, and it's been really, really cool to kind of see how this dance between real-world applicable principles, like I talked last week, where I taught you the framework of better storytelling, and we've talked about the pillars of marketing, and we've talked about creating a cult, and having the dance with mindset. Because clearly, it's those two things. You have to have your head on straight, and you have to learn the things once your head's on straight so you can apply success-based principles to have a successful business. As a reminder, I know who you are. My ideal listener and ideal viewer of this show is somebody that runs a small business, that started out as a single lone wolf, that's been building a team, has desires to scale and grow it to a different level, but has had issues in that because it's very, very difficult. And I wanted to talk today about one of the things that I've seen in my own experience. I've watched it in other members of the gig economy that have dealt with this, if they're building out their own service and offerings to the market, and that's you need a reality check. A couple episodes ago, I talked about just releasing yourself from the lies that we tell. This is a different angle on that, though. A reality check so much isn't about releasing the lies, it's about assessing truth where it is. See, the problem is that we are dishonest with ourselves about who and what we are in our business. We undervalue the things that we're naturally great at, and we overvalue the things that we really suck at. So let's look at those two positions, the juxtaposition between the undervaluing of what we're great at and the overvaluing of the things that we suck at. Let's talk about overvaluing or undervaluing. I've said before many times, the reason why we do this is because we know the recipe. If you're watching this, you know who you are. You know exactly what's going on in your business. You know every discrepancy of what you've done. You also know the great things that you've done. You know where every flaw in your model is. You know every time you didn't communicate the hard conversation that you needed to your team or to people in your life. You know exactly the challenges that you've created for yourself because of your weaknesses, and yet you still look at them and think they're not a big deal. On the flip side, so that's the undervaluing, the overvaluing. You overvalue it when you mess up. You're like, it's not that big of a deal. It's okay. We'll handle it. You undervalue the things that you do great. And that's a problem, again, and it comes back to the fact that you know the recipe of who you are. And so for something to be simple for you, you seem to think that it's low importance or low value. I want to share with you a personal experience that kind of shows this. It's personal, it's intimate. I love doing stand-up comedy. It's something I really enjoy. I'm coming up actually on the 4-year anniversary to the first time that I ever headlined my own show as a comedian. What that means is that I was the guy. There was a host and openers, and then I was the main attraction. My name was on the marquee. I was the headliner for the show. Now, over the past several months, I hadn't been doing a lot of comedy. I talked to you guys about this. And I had my reasons for it. I felt like I was focusing on different aspects of my business. I'm sitting here trying to take Media Automated as a company to the next level, to build out my team, to install better processes so that I can take on bigger clients, I can take on larger projects, and I can, of course, make more money and more profit without having to sacrifice any of my time freedom. Okay, so that's my goal. I looked at comedy as something that was able to be put on the side. It wasn't important. I could put it over there, go work on your business, Bryce. Well, The part about that was not good for me is that I have felt this sort of pull towards making people laugh my entire life. Even when I got into stand-up and I started doing things for the first time, it was like this release. I felt good about it. I'm like, finally. I had watched this documentary called The Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling, where I saw a perfect blend between the self-development world and making people laugh. That you can be somebody that meditates and that cares about success and being happy and healthy, and I could be a ridiculously funny comedian, savage at times, and be in a place where maybe I was even a little bit mean. Those two worlds could be together. And I started working towards that. And a lot of it came easy. A lot of it was difficult, but a lot of it came easy. Well, the last several months, as I was abandoning that, I felt this sort of hole, like something was missing. And I didn't know what it was because in my mind, I had devalued my talent and my gift of making people laugh. I had not allowed myself to see that because it's something simple and easy for me doesn't mean that it's incredibly important to keep doing it, especially for those out there. I had minimized it. I thought, well, if I'm just going to a dark room to tell jokes to make people laugh, that's all I'm doing. I'm talking to drunk people that have a face full of nachos, and that's not that important in this world. But what I was overlooking is the fact that a good comic and a good comedian, when I'm at my best, I'm doing way more than that. I'm vibrationally elevating a room of people to laughter, and that laughter has a healing influence on their lives. It helps them to change their state of energy from one thing to another where they think differently, they feel differently. They see light through a lighter and more bright lens. And so quite literally, with me being somebody willing to pursue that, I was putting myself in a position to help people, to be valuable, to be somebody that makes their night better, somebody that they talk about in the future. Oh, you remember that joke when that guy said that? Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I was overlooking that reality and I was minimizing it and thinking, it doesn't matter. It's not worth my time. I don't need to do this. I'm going to focus over here. And it had an effect on me personally. I was not as happy as I could have been. I was feeling it. Well, I had an epiphany a couple weeks ago where I realized the error in those ways. That my ability and talent to make people laugh, I need to be doing it not only for them, but for me. That it puts me in a different position. When I'm on stage, it forces me to be present. And that my presence, and it forces me to feel successful because when I get laughs from a crowd, I turn into a different version of myself. And then I take that version off stage and I apply that with my tank full into my business, into my family, into my relationships, into my health and fitness. I become a better person. This epiphany that I had is that I actually have a calling to become a masterful comedian. And that by following that and allowing that to be something that's important, even though I simplify it and I minimize it, and I thought it's just, that's the wrong move for me. I had to have my own reality check where I'm like, dude, you got to go make people laugh. You're missing out on a big part of life and what life has in store for you by not doing that. So that is an area where I was minimizing, undervaluing this thing that was a gift and talent for me because I knew the recipe. There's a lot of parts of me making people laugh that are simple and easy. It's not hard for me. Put me in a room and I'll get everybody laughing. But that doesn't mean that because it's simple for me that I get to act like it doesn't matter or that it's lesser of importance and priority because it doesn't take as much effort from me. See, there's something in your life as well that has this as a reality for you. You know the recipe of who you are. And so it's very important for you to value appropriately the things that you're great at and to be willing to bet on those things. Even if they come naturally and you just feel that it's something simple for you, it's up to you. It's your responsibility. If you truly want full success, abundant, luxurious success, you are required to remove the temptation to devalue the things that come naturally for you. You have to evaluate them at the level to which their value is. It's incredibly valuable for somebody like me to lift people's spirits, to make them laugh, to have them look at life through a different lens that makes them happier. That's so valuable. And I was unwilling to see it. I kept minimizing. It's just a bunch of dick jokes. I'm saying some bad words that are funny, whatever. So what's your version of that? See, here's the problem though. Here's what happens when you don't address this. You'll experience the things that I experienced. You'll experience where you just feel like it almost feels like a depression, like there's just a numbness associated with your day-to-day living. If you ignore your gift and your talent and you minimize and devalue it in a way that has you ignoring it, it will cost you everything. It will cost you your self-respect. It will cost you peace of mind. It will cost you money. It will cost you relationships because you aren't living in true expressive authenticity of who you are. You're taking the thing that comes easy and natural for you and you're saying it doesn't matter. You're turning down the intensity. And so what's happening is that the world doesn't get access to that part of you because you've decided it doesn't matter. There is not anything more dangerous to your well-being and your future success than that apathy towards yourself. Now, on the other side, when you overvalue, when you act like things aren't a big deal, when you have blatant discrepancies happening in your business, and you ignore it and act like the universe is going to come in and save you, and all you have to do is law of attraction, wish your way into your next client, you're fucked. That's not good either. And so when I reference in this episode that you need a reality check, what I'm referring to is that you just have to get real. You have to assess the value of things for what they are. Now, I want to let you in on a little secret. Everybody deals with this. There is not a single entrepreneur or business owner that hasn't had this conversation with themselves, that have thought they're all alone and that what they're doing doesn't matter and that they're failing openly. And even though they might have a good brand and they might have the appearance of success in some of the levels that are out there, or you might be associated with other successful people, they still think, I'm not there. I'm not where I'm at. Some even think it's because they're not good enough or not worthy of the success. Every single person. Some of you that follow me on social might know that I'm associated with this men's group out of Dana Point, California called the Ascend Brotherhood. The Ascend Brotherhood is full of a bunch of killers. Everybody that's in that group is a 6 to 7 figure earner in their business. They have great families. They are leaders of their own right in the different communities to which they're a part. It is an incredible group of men. The people outside of that brotherhood are that way as well. Some of the most influential people in our culture and in the self-improvement, self-development industry, in providing services to the market, and just being good at creating massive businesses are one level away from every one of the men in that group. Like I said, it's an incredible group. I had an experience with them back in January. I had been looking at myself from outside of that fence. That like I was trying to become like those men, but I wasn't there yet. I hadn't allowed myself to see them as peers. I thought of them still as people that I wanted to be like and that I needed to work harder and be closer to if I was going to ever be in a position like they were. I didn't know any of the specifics about their day-to-day. I didn't know any of the things that make up what thoughts crossed their mind. I just knew I had decided to feel like I was less than them. And there was this moment where I realized, oh no, I'm on the other side of the fence with them. I shared this sentiment with one of the brothers there, and he said to me, he's like, yeah, you are. Look at your results. Your results are even better than some of the men in this group. Your results prove to you and to others that you're a force to be reckoned with, but you have your mess too, just like all of us, man. And I tried to argue against that. I'm like, but what, I'm dealing with this and I haven't done this. And he's like, so what? Everybody deals with that. You think that every entrepreneur that starts a business and gets a little bit of a rise to success and starts doing well, that they have all their shit together, that they've never missed a tax deadline, that they've never had a team member take over and they didn't have the hard conversation that caused problems, that they've never had it be to where they mismanaged a client or they didn't perform at the level that they needed to, or they miscalculated expectation. And everybody's dealing with it. Every single person has their mess. And if we're going to be real with ourselves and have a reality check about this, we get to acknowledge that. The point I bring that up isn't for the comparison, though. It's for the reality. It's so that you can stop comparing yourself to other people, thinking that because the appearance is there, that they have it all figured out and that they're better than you. Because it's a shifting model and everybody's got their mess, and somebody might be a master in one area that you stink at, but you're really good over in this area that they suck at. And so just stop comparing. Compare the future version of yourself and the future version of your company inside your mind. Do not compare yourself to anyone else. Everyone else has their stuff. They're going through it. They've got their mess. Get out of the comparison game. See, if you don't, and you can continue in this place where you're not having the reality check conversation, where you're in the mode of comparison, where you're trying to minimize the things you're great at, and you're acting like the things that you suck at and are causing problems aren't that big of a deal, you're losing momentum every moment. Every single moment you lose momentum. And you know how inertia works. When you lose enough momentum, you stop and you fail and you go out of business. You have to have that conversation with yourself. You have to be real with yourself about exactly what you're great at and what you're not great at. And then from there, you get to correct course. Now, there's a couple of things that I've noticed here. I've noticed that there's a temptation when we get in these new sort of mindsets and thought patterns where we just want to cut out the things in our life. We have the reality check conversation. We do an assessment session with ourselves, whether it be in meditation. Some people use plant medicine. Some people use cold plunges. They put themselves in a forced moment of presence to allow them to see and feel and experience the realness of where they are and everything. And there's a temptation then to try to craft this sort of perfect plan. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients say, hey man, I just need to fire this client. This client isn't a good client. It's somebody that doesn't honor A, B, and C for what we require. There's, he's got this going on or she's got this going on. I need to dissociate myself from them. Now, in theory, I'm supportive always of that conversation with oneself. I've had to fire clients before as well where it just didn't work out, but it's never a rash decision. See, I'll share an experience. There was somebody very close to me. He had a very high-profile client that was preaching a certain message, but this message didn't align with the actions of the person giving the message. And so the friend of mine that was working in close quarters with this individual felt almost annoyed that he was having to deal with one thing being said while another's being done. And in his mind, he decided that that client wasn't worth it for him. He's a bad client. I'm being around hypocrites. I don't want to do that. And he talked to me about, well, should I or should I not fire this client? Should I disassociate myself from it? Now, the conversation that ensued after that was very interesting to me because as I'm talking through this client with my friend, I'm like, so does this client meet A, B, and C as a requirement for you to work with him? Does he pay on time? Do you enjoy the work? Is there any sort of issue with that? And he's like, no, it's great. He's actually one of my largest paying clients. It would be a massive hit for me if I was to lose this guy. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, so is it a principle-based choice then? So you're doing this out of principle to prove to yourself that you could replace him because you don't like these aspects of what you're seeing out of the behavior of your client? And I posed that question. He said, I hadn't thought about it that way. And I proposed an idea. I said, how about this? How about you take it up with your client? How about you say to your client, hey man, this is something that I'm seeing. I look at you with such a higher level of respect because of this, and that's the only reason why I'm willing to bring this up. It bothers me that I hear you say these things and then I watch you do this. And I asked him, if you were to do that, do you think your client would find offense in that, or that he would be grateful that somebody was willing to tell him, hey man, knock it off? And he said he'd probably be grateful. Well, instead of losing this massive client, he decided to have that conversation with the client. And the result is that it made the relationship better with the client. He didn't have to lose the client. The client actually became a better client. And so part of this reality check sort of thing is making sure that we're making decisions that are based in reality and not in whim. Sometimes we think because we read the latest law of attraction book, or we've read the latest NLP reading, and there's all this subconscious talk and the universe juice and all this stuff, that we don't need actual sales and marketing to get our business off the ground. We just have to sit Indian style and go om, and the next client is going to fall out of the sky for us. That's one of the areas of your business where you have to have a reality check. You can make up to $1 million with a current great list of clients, with good referral networks, and with repeat business. But I'm telling you from personal experience, that will go away. There will become a point where you've done all the business with all the people that could be referred to you. And you have to rely now on systems and sales and marketing and a different way to make sure that you maintain your business. The only way that you can get to that point, though, is by realizing in real time and looking at your business into the future and seeing, where am I exposed? Again, you got to have a reality check with yourself. Because in order to elevate yourself to be a upper echelon business that grows from just being a 6 to 7 figure business to beyond, it starts with you. It starts with your leadership. It starts with your vision. It starts with your systems and processes. It starts with you at the head of that company being somebody that knows how to take proper action, that can handle relationships in a way that is honorable, and then, of course, leans into your own zone of genius, your own gifts, the things that you've devalued because you're so good at it and it's just so easy that, of course, it's not worth much when there are others that pay so much money for other people to come in and give them the same results that you get easily. See, when you lose momentum and you start to slow down and you're not honest with yourself, it puts you into this place where like you have to have those conversations, and you start on the flip side, instead of looking at clients to fire, you start taking on clients that don't serve you. You start doing things for the money as opposed to for the value that you have to offer. And you bastardize yourself and you find yourself less and less happy. And I've seen this happen a lot. Entrepreneurs then turn into victims. They start blaming other people for the challenges. They start blaming the market. They start blaming this. And what actually happened is that they never stuck to their guns, created their business and the things that they want from their own perspective. They started looking at it like everything external out here is what I have to deal with, instead of creating it internally and watching your external world shift because you've owned the things you're great at. You've reinforced the things that you're not, and you've allowed yourself to really look detailed-wise at what is happening in your world and your business. Okay, so how do we fix this? Well, first of all, it can't be fixed in a podcast episode, but what I will tell you this is that the way that you do it is you need to have an assessment session with yourself. Like I said, whether it's a meditation, if you use plant medicine, if you do a cold plunge, you got to get really, really present. Like forcibly in the moment, there's nothing outside of 5 feet of you. Super present. And in those moments of super presence, you have to start asking yourself better questions. What do I really want here? What is my actual motivation for doing this? Is there something close to this that I actually want to do that has gotten lost in this whole mix because I haven't been honest with myself and I haven't had a reality check about what's really going on? I want to be really open with you guys on here. I'm currently in the middle of this right now. I have made a lot of money as somebody that produces podcasts and that helps you create your show from start to finish properly. I've done really well in helping brands grow with the proper messaging and with great content that's created because of the work that we do together. I've also been really filled up in the role of executive producer when I've had those opportunities where a higher level client will hire me to come in and truly manage it all in a personal way, not just help with the creation of the show and the management of the assets, but to be a figure inside of their organization as an executive producer. It's a different level of consultation, a different level of connection. But naturally, it requires more. The times in my business when I've allowed clients to hire me as an EP are the happiest moments of my career when it comes to my business. I love it. I'm right now transitioning more into that role to where I'm coming inside of organizations as an executive producer of the content and management of their shows and creating it at a larger scale, more hands-on, taking it off of their plate, and it fills me up, dude. It's so much more fun. It's so much more rewarding. It's cooler. The opportunities are better, everything. It took me having this reality check with myself to be willing to look at this pivot. And so I invite you to do the same thing. Look at small pivots in your business that could actually bring massive results that would keep you more in alignment with what your goals are and, more importantly, your true talents, your true gifts, the things that only you have as an expertise. You have to know when to let go, and you have to know when not to let go. I'll keep you guys updated on this shift for me with my executive producer stuff because I've done it several times underneath my same moniker here. It's not outside of my business model at all. It doesn't sacrifice any of the attention that I give to current clients. It's just something that's a higher level of responsibility for me within my client role, client creator relationship, and it's really fun. And it just came because I was willing to look at things a little different. So I ask the same of you. My friends, I'm going to wrap this up, but what I want you to do is I want you to get really present and have that conversation with yourself. Where am I full of shit, and where am I not giving enough credit for what I actually am great at? If you're willing to do that, I want you to tell me about it. For this week's call to action, at the end of these episodes, I give a call to action every time. If I've hit the mark, or I've inspired change, or I've inspired you to think about things differently and to give yourself more credit, I want you to let me know. I want you to go to iTunes and I want you to leave me a 5-star rating and review. I want you to reach out and I want you to DM me about your experience. I'm at Bryce Prescott on Instagram, or if you want to DM our corporate account, it's at Media Automated. I want you as well to share this message because I want this in the ears of as many entrepreneurs as business owners that need to hear this, that are right on the cusp of greatness, that just need that nudge to tell themselves the truth in a different way and to allow themselves to step into their own greatness and to stop fearing failure and fearing rejection and accept the fact that you're awesome and have that be the energy to which you make decisions towards your best business. So that's my ask. If I've hit the mark, any one of those things are much appreciated. And I want to say thank you to those that have already done those. Keep it up. Keep sharing the show. Keep working towards making your business better. Also, if you want to send me any ideas of things that you would like to hear, current challenges that you're experiencing in your business, reach out. Any extra feedback from what you guys are experiencing as a result of these videos and these shows is welcome. So please do that. So that's the show. My friends, you've been listening to Media Automated, where self-improvement meets business excellence. I'm your host, Bryce Prescott. I'll see you next time.